everyone, Digital David here. Today in this video, I'm going to be checking out the coolermaster TD300 Mesh White PC case. I did receive this sample from coolermaster, but any opinion expressed in this video is strictly my own. That being said, if you're interested in this case or you want to find out more about it, the link to it will be in the video description. Taking a look at the retail box and packaging, we have a white and black version here. Nice graphic of the case, additional information on the back. They really like to highlight this polygonal mesh front panel, and it is really cool. I built in the black case, so I'm excited to build in the white one. And we have a 4mm thick tempered glass side panel. Here's some additional tech specs for you on the side right here with all of your proper dimensions. Now let's go ahead, let's open it up and look at the contents. Looking for a secure and reliable way to access the internet? Look no further than ExpressVPN. Protect your personal information and browsing history from prying eyes. Act now and sign up for ExpressVPN today using our link in the description and receive an extra 3 months of service for free. Here are all the components. First up, we have your user guide and manual walking you through everything that's included, as well as step-by-step component installation instructions depending on what you're trying to accomplish with your build. We also have a hardware kit here with some hard drive brackets, some zip ties. We also have some motherboard screws, a socket, and standoff brackets. Here's a look at the case itself. Let's dive into this in more detail. Here's a look at the top of the case. You'll see we have a removable dust cover here. It's magnetized and just fits right in place. Then we have plenty of room to mount any sort of AIO radiator cooling solution that you'd want up here, some additional fans. You'll also notice our front panel connection options here, 2 USB 3.0 ports, indicator light for your hard drives, big illuminated power button, mic jack, headphone jack, and our reset switch. Backside has a lot of venting and cooling options for us. We can put an exhaust fan here, motherboard IO slot. We have our expansion slots here, power supply spot at the bottom. Very bottom of the case shows our 4 feet. We have a removable filter here, so we can easily clean as needed. That's going to be for our power supply fan. So nice that that's accessible for us. And then you'll see right on this side of the bottom of the case, we have our front panel slot that we can use to pull open to remove. Looking at the front panel, you'll notice on the cover we have our polygonal mesh design here. It looks really nice. 2 ARGB fans that'll glow through here. coolermaster's logo and branding. Cover is removed, so here's the inside and how that mesh looks, followed by the 2 included ARGB fans right here. Everything looks great. We do have room if we want to rearrange, slide those down, maybe even put our own AIO if we wanted. Maybe slide them up and try to add another fan. You get the idea, but we do have some customization here. And we have our cable management slot right there. Here's a look at the back side. So this panel is just a solid white piece with 2 screws to remove to open it up. The panel just slides off. There's a look of the inside of the panel. And now you'll see all of our cable management options and channels right here. 2 hard drive slots down at the bottom. Some SSD mounting right here. Power supply room. You'll also notice our fan and RGB hub that is included. And we have it configured by default to use the reset switch. So you don't have to use any software to control all of your RGB. That's always a nice feature. Obviously, where our motherboard's going to go, lots of tie-down options and room for reach up at the top to bring our cables through to the back. Here's a look at the tempered glass side. 2 screws again, then we can just slide it up and out of the way. You'll notice on the inside, a lot of room here with standoff brackets already installed. Our cable management channels, again with the grommets on this side. Power supply shroud down at the bottom. I'll tip it up so you see we actually have some additional storage options here if you want to add a few more SSDs. So a lot of room with this small case to really get a lot of storage in here and different cooling options depending on how you want to build your PC. So with our top cover and both side panels removed, now it's time for us to get our PC built. All right, so we got our PC built. Check it out. Everything looks great. Let's look at it up close. Now we have the panel off. Let's go into the build and look at it. Beautiful cooler. We added an exhaust fan here. There's our GPU. All of our cable connections and options there. Our 2 sticks of DDR4 RAM. Up at the top, I added a couple of test fans here. So this one's currently disabled. We'll turn that one back on in a minute, and we'll turn this one off. And then we have our 2 included fans right there for the intake. Plenty of room still after we did our build to add, change, reconfigure however we want. We didn't even take advantage of any of the additional 2.5 inch or 3.5 inch hard drive bays. Here's a quick peek at the back side here. Power supply down at the bottom. Here's a look at the very top with our illuminated power button. And one of our RGB fans peeking through. And then here's a look at the back side right here. How we have everything wired and configured. Feel free to judge as needed. We did tie some of it off here and around the side and right there in the middle. And then we kind of let it just be free reign down at the bottom there. Plenty of room though. We took out the hard drive bays here, but you could add those in. Depends on how you want to use this case and configure it. Additional SSD storage here. But a lot of room on the back and plenty of options to tie down for cable management. And now we have a close-up with the lights turned off here. Beautiful fans. They cast a lot of light here. The white helps to reflect everything in this build. Got that guy powered on now. Beautiful. He's the 140 millimeter version of these fans. And it's in black instead of white. Let's look at that front panel. I love the mesh here. It looks so good as the fans peek through. And again, we left those stock. Obviously, we could adjust those up if we wanted. There's the power button again. A look at the top there. But they're very bright. Great RGB. Really good looking case and build. I wanted to talk about the RGB lights for a minute because by default with how everything's set up right out of the box, you have your reset switch configured to actually control the RGB, so you don't need any additional software. You don't have to connect them directly to your motherboard if you don't want. So watch as we press the button, we'll cycle through. You'll see all the different lighting effects and options that we have right here. And it's changing all of our fans. Now, it's not going to change the RGB on the motherboard or the motherboard RGB. That's going to have to be done separately. But any fan connected to the hub, it's going to change and control them. Look at how good everything looks. Tons of different options, whether you want more of a static color, you want some pulsing effects, quick changes. Obviously, the RGB rainbow. Those are my favorite ones. Coolermaster's purples, never a bad look, especially with the white case. I love the white lights though. The white and gray color scheme, amazing. And then we're back to my RGB rainbows. I love all of those different effects. It looks so good with these fans. The blades are illuminated and the two rings along the front and the back side. So very simple to control and change your RGB without any additional software, just right at your fingertips. Now let's talk about performance. What better way to showcase the airflow than injecting some smoke into our PC? I'm gonna zap it into the bottom right here of our air intake, and you'll watch and see how a lot of it will exhaust out the top as well as the back right here. Maybe you can get a feel just for some of the airflow and movement with the configuration that we have here. Two 120 fans on the front, a 140 up top, a 120 out the back, and you'll notice an additional 120 inside on our CPU cooler. So let's have a little bit of fun and let's smoke this thing out. So awesome, so satisfying there. So you see the smoke comes in, it's exhausting a lot out the top and the side as you would expect. It's great to see that airflow as the cool air comes in. It gets picked up right here by the fan, channeled out the back, as well as this first fan intercepting quite a bit of that fresh air and exhausting it right out as well. So just keep that in mind how you want to configure your case. For me personally with this build, I have a couple test fans up top. If I were to do this as my permanent configuration, I'd probably just remove both the fans. I don't think they're needed up at the top unless I want them for an aesthetic reason. But if anything, I would take the 140 here and move it over here so we have some of that cooler air staying in here, and hopefully it's exhausting some warmer air out the top. Because again, it's taking quite a bit out right here as soon as it comes in. Not a big deal, but just something I wanted to point out. This really can move a lot of air as you could see with this test. Now we have our idle PC temps up here, so you can see our values for our CPU, our gigabyte motherboard, our M.2 drive, as well as our GPU. Currently, we're just idling, so at 0 or 1 or maybe 2% utilization here across the board. We have all the panels on here. Our CPU currently showing around, let's just say 28 degrees Celsius, give or take a little bit. Motherboard has a ton of different readouts for us as well. We're seeing, let's just say we're averaging maybe around 30, 32 degrees Celsius there. Our M.2 drive's coming in right at 29 degrees Celsius. And our GPU temp is hovering right around 30, 31 degrees Celsius. Now we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna max everything out and see how warm this thing gets. All right, so we have the CPU and the GPU maxed out right here. Check out our temps. Everything's well within range as you would expect, so the case is doing a fantastic job here. We gotta give some credit to the fans that we're using as well as the fans we've added and our CPU cooler here, but everything together is paired really nicely and our temps all look great. Everything is very healthy. Our CPU is peaking right at around 58 degrees Celsius. Our GPU has peaked right at around 63 degrees Celsius. You'll see that our M.2 drive has also went up a couple of degrees here as I think just the air and the motherboard and everything else has started to warm up. Our motherboard has jumped around, looks like maybe 10 degrees Celsius or so in that 40, low 40 range. But everything's working great, being fully stressed out under a full load right here. Great design from this case with plenty of room to get that cool air in and keep all of that warm air out. So now let me share with you my final thoughts after building in this case. This is actually my second build in this case. The first build was in the black version, which is identical, but I really like the white and gray color scheme. Nothing wrong with the black case, but I always think white builds just look a little bit cleaner, nicer, and cooler to me personally. But everything I said about the black version holds true with the white version because, again, nothing is different. I really like the removable top panel, super easy to build in. I also really like the size of this case overall. It's definitely my favorite form factor size. I think it's the perfect size for a PC, whether it's going on your desk, on the floor, and I'd say it's not too big that if you wanted to take it with you somewhere, you could still easily transport it. Now, the front mesh panel is really what sets this case apart, and that's going to be probably why you've landed on this from an aesthetic standpoint. It is really nice, one of the coolest front panels out there today. Now, what do I want to see changed or improved in the future? There are a couple things. The first one is, even though it's the perfect size for me, it doesn't have your ATX motherboard support. So that's a big bummer because you got to buy a smaller, less practical motherboard that's not going to give you as many features, or if you want those same features, it's going to cost you a couple more bucks. So just keep that in mind. That's probably the biggest thing for me, along with the fact that we don't have 3 fans included. They should definitely include a third fan for you to use for the exhaust. That's going to be an additional expense for you if you want to add one yourself. So just keep that in mind when you're shopping around. Lastly, I think on the side right here, I like that we have our tempered glass side panel, but I wish they extended it maybe a little bit further down. I think it has more of an issue with the black case versus the white one here, but maybe if nothing else, give us a cutout on this side so we can display maybe a little window for our power supply label, maybe a little cover you could pop on or off if you wanted to use that. Maybe you get one that has a display. So it'd be nice if we had something like that built into the shroud down here. But really, those are just some minor observations and complaints that I would have. This, hands down though, one of my favorite cases. Again, the size, the looks, the aesthetics, really, really well done.